Greetings, R. Frederick Riddle here, and this is Christian News and Views. That was a picture from this morning's paper. We're just getting started, and that's the best part of the article. I'm not going to read the article because it's wasted ink, in my opinion. And so we're going to take a look at the address. I followed it. I watched it last night, and very impressed with it. Very impressed with President Trump as he gave it. Was a little bit of excitement there. One guy from Texas got kicked out. And we have the Democrats acting like little spoiled little children. But other than that, it was a very good speech. Some very sensitive times there in which there was this. Well, I remember it. You may remember different things from it, but one of the things that stuck out to me was, excuse me, was this young boy. I think they said his age was 11, and he wanted to grow up someday and be I believe it was a police officer, and yes, a police officer, and he ended up. Actually, President Trump gave him he had a agent, and this particular agent wasn't mentioned in the paper, and I didn't take the note down, but I believe he was a survivor of the attempt on Trump's life. But in any case, he was this agent, Secret Service agent, I think he was, came in and presented a ID, in which the little boy was lifted up by his father, and he showed everybody with that ID, making him a permanent member of the service, honorary, and but it was very touching. And later on, President Trump was talking about this other young man who was going into the military, and he had quite a good testimony too. But one of the things I noticed, and I don't know if I didn't hear anybody, didn't really follow the follow-up talk that the reporters always do. I did a little bit, but I didn't hear any talk about this. But that 11-year-old came over and was behind the young man that was now the center of attention, and patted him on the shoulder or something like that. And I don't know what he said, but I thought that was a really nice act on his part. He was no longer in the spotlight, and he didn't necessarily know that he was seen doing what he did. He didn't get the guy's attention or anything. He just reached up, and I think he tapped him on his shoulder, if I remember correctly. But it was just a special moment that I thought that was really cool that that young man would do something like that. Tells you a little bit about him. But anyhow, getting back to the headline here, we're just getting started. That was a good headline. But the article itself is, like I said, wasted ink, and then it fails to accurately report what happened. Most of the article is taken up with, this is AP now, and they're explaining things. Well, you can always have to be careful when AP explains things. So I just thought, you know what? That's a waste of time. I'm just going to go with my take. Not going to read theirs. So last night was quite an event. To do it justice, I will not read the paper because, as I said, it fails to provide the kind of reporting we should expect. So I'm going to, as I remembered things, I took notes, and so my notes may not be complete. Trump was going one after another, and I was trying to keep up, and I may have missed a few things. So pardon me for that if I did that. He began his speech by listing accomplishments and goals. I will only cover a few, as he had more accomplishments in his first 30 days than I can remember any president doing. And I'm 82 years old, so I've been around a little bit. Okay, let's begin. He began with the border crossing almost zero. Now, it went from, as I understand it, was millions of people crossing and now it's almost zero. Even the press, before the address ever started, were talking about that, about the fact that the border, the crossings had dropped so dramatically. And you got to remember, the President Biden and all of his people were saying, "Oh, it couldn't be done anyway." They had to do it the way they were doing it, with their open borders, because any other way would not work. Well, that went by. President Trump proved that you could do it. And how did he do it? He sent troops there. Now, yeah, he called it an invasion, and I understand that. Technically, that's not really true. But I understand the analogy, because they are coming in a mass. They were coming over in masses, and so that didn't mean they were coming over with tanks and other armor or anything like that. But they were coming in multiple thousands of people at a time, and so I understand the use of calling it an invasion. But that's almost gone. Poof, just like that. That was his first thing. Then he moved on. He says, "I'm establishing an immediate freeze on hiring." Uh, so the hiring has stopped. That doesn't mean it stopped permanently, but I think what they're going to do is not only stop, but they're going to probably take a look at their hiring practices, what they require, what their needs are, and so forth, and then maybe restart it. But right now, they're freezing it because really the government's too big to begin with, so they're stopping it. And we'll get on to it a little bit later, but there's some firings going on too, so we'll get to that. And I think we get that a little bit later. Um, Freeze on regulations, especially regulations, environmental regulations, other kinds of regulations that manage to, instead of helping American people, what they did is they restrained American people from doing what they do best, which is we're a people who we use our imagination, our energy, and everything to create, to invent, to create startup jobs and create uh, 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 hiring in the companies and so forth, that they can hire more and more people. And so that's good. Another thing he did is he froze foreign aid, and that is good. It's probably temporary. When you freeze something, figure there's probably going to be a warming later on, but he's freezing them now, and probably again going to reevaluate what is necessary, what they want to do, and what they can't do, and or don't want to do, and also what they're able to do. So he's moving on. Then he said we withdrew from the Paris Accord, withdrew from the World Health Organization. Anybody out there remember COVID? World Health Organization. I followed them. I watched them. I faithfully went in and looked at their stuff and everything, and even in a book I wrote at the time, I was going through and getting information from them, and also from the United States version of it, and wasn't always in agreement with one another. And the thing is that there's some suspicion, and maybe even more than that the World Health Organization had their fingers in this thing a little bit deeper and a little bit in a shady way than what we would want to have anything to do with. So, in any case, he's very unhappy with them, and he withdrew from it. UN Human Rights. Basically, that's a leftist organization within the United Nations, and I'll leave it at that. It's goodbye, good riddance, and I'm glad you're gone. Ended harmful environmental regulations. We were talking about regulations earlier. Harmful environmental regulations. He ended them. He ended the mandate of electric cars. Does that mean we're not going to have electric cars? No. It means the mandate's gone. It means that that the government wants to still see the gas operated cars for a while. My feeling is that the best way to go is a transition and the market will take care of it. It's just like we moved from horses to cars. The market took care of it. The people out there, you, took care of it because you found the car was better than a horse. I know this is old, but it's what happened. And we went from a horse-drawn buggy to a car, and that was a very big change. But it took place over a few years, and the market itself changed. You, the people, the consumer, are the ones who changed it, and I think that's what he's going for here. Every new regulation will balance, and I believe I heard him say 9 regulations. I could be wrong on that, but I believe he said 9. So he's going to get one new one, and they're going to have to eliminate 9 others. So that's be good because our government is very regulation heavy, overweight, if you will. Federal workers. Now this he's talking about, we have too many federal workers, so he's firing them. And that's causing problems. Things are going in the courts, so that thing's going to be worked out for a while there. I think in the end, his ability to fire them, I think, will stay. Um, I think there may be some adjustments here and there that will have to take place, but we'll have to watch and see how that one works out. And I've mentioned in the past, I would hope that some of these workers at least might have a soft landing, that the government, that some of the workers are themselves bad workers. They don't deserve a soft landing. But the ones who are good workers who are just doing something and even actually had accepted a buyout, I'm thinking that they might consider that. They have not called me to ask my opinion, so I don't know if that's going to happen or not. He stopped censorship, and what he's talking about that was if you'll remember, during the election, your different social media platforms were censoring him. The news media was censoring him. They were anything that if somebody like yourself or myself was to put something out there that was in line with what he was saying, they would censor it. They would claim it was false and so forth. And they had their criteria for determining the truth was rather suspect to begin with. Won't go any further with that one, but I will say that we had stopped it, and I've noticed it right in. I use Facebook and LinkedIn, and I use several of the different social media platforms, and I've noticed that there's been no more openness there that they allow, and that's good. English is now our official language. He renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. And by the way, you've already seen impacts of that on your weather maps. You're going to see that during on other areas as well. Sometimes faster, sometimes because of legal things that they have to do to get to that point, it will take a little bit longer. But that's already having an impact, and it may have an impact on the economy itself. I'm not sure about that, but that's just a thought. Hiring based on merit rather than race, creed, or anything else. Based on your work. Are you a good worker? Do you show up on time? Do you leave too early, or do you are you doing things you're being paid to do one thing and you're not doing it? Is your job not up to par? And they're gonna hire people and fire people based on a merit. Removed critical race theory, CRT. That's a good move. I know some people defend it and they say, "Oh, you guys don't understand it." I think the ones that don't understand it are the ones who are defending it. The evidence is out there and it's rather obvious. So I won't go into that one. I don't have time to spend on that one. I could probably spend the entire time on that one. Uh, he also declared something we always have known, but the world has forgotten. There's only 2 genders, folks. God created men and women, and that's it. He didn't cry. He didn't create man, woman, and uh, what am I? He is two women, two genders, man and woman. Oh, and by the way, he banned men from playing in women's sports. So he did all that. He mentioned all those things in the first few minutes of his speech. And he was moving, boom, 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 one right after another. And I'm sitting here trying to take down notes. So I am sure I missed some. But I tried to catch as many as I could. Then he moved on to the economy. And he started out, I'm making America affordable again. Now, in today's paper, they're talking about the Wall Street has gone, all the gains that it had gotten are gone. Well, I would like to remind you, the stock market is a predicting uh, market. And what I mean by that is that the investors are looking ahead. Now, when I was in the market many, many years ago, decades ago, it was 6 months ahead. It may be further ahead now or less ahead. I don't know. I'm no longer in there. But it is predictive. They're looking ahead. And I would think that probably more than 6 months now, just because they need to know and have confidence in what's going on down the road so they can make decisions here that will be able to be put in place by that time. And so that is something that is going on. And right now it's fallen. I didn't get in. I didn't spend any time on that today. I might spend some time on it later to see what the reasoning is. Uh, but they're seeing some things that look bad, and so there's some uncertainty on there. You have a possible trade war and other things going on. All these are playing on their minds. You could almost call investors superstitious, but anyhow, they are kind of worried, and so but you have to. It takes time, and the smart investor gets that information. Now, back in my day, I had to do it myself. I subscribed to different services I got information from, and then I had to study it and make it. Now they have it almost completely computerized, and the computer does it, and I'm not sure that I would be comfortable in that environment at all, but that's the way things are being done. He opened power plants that had been closed. He reopened them, and he either has or is. But the idea there is America first. He wants America to start getting back to doing things. Power plants is just one. He mentioned that. I don't think I have it in my list. He mentioned steel plants during his presentation. So different things. He wants to start getting back to America first, and that's a good thing. National energy emergency. He declared a national energy emergency so that he could do certain things. When you declare an emergency in anything, that frees you up, being the president, to do things legally under the Constitution. And so by doing that, he now has more things that he can do, more steps that he can take. And again, that's a good thing. Critical and rare earth productions in the USA. Now we know about his efforts to get the Ukraine uh, rare rare minerals, and this is in relationship to that to some degree. But in this case, instead of going from Ukraine to see, we do what we can here in America for it. Now some of these the rare minerals needed, I don't think we have here in the United States, but what we do have, he wants to increase that and focus on that. Ending waste. You have all heard of DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. Well, that has found out a lot of waste. Just listen here. But HHS, Home and Housing, I don't know, Health and that's a Health and Housing Services, I think is what that stands for. And there's been some waste there they found. He's ending the uh, diversity, equity, and inclusiveness, I believe is what it is. He's ending that. It's done. Woke is done. But here's the one that really stood out to me. I was sat there in amaze as he went through the facts here. People, to give you a background here, the oldest person living in the United States now, I think, is between 100 and 105, somewhere in there. They were finding people who were 115, 120, 130, 140, 150. They got all the way up to over 300 years old. That's older than the country. There's one person in the United States, according to Social Security records, that's older than the United States. These are all imaginary people. They're non-existent, and but the Social Security is paying money to these imaginary people. Well, they were. I think that's when it either has or will be brought to an end. But there's that. Talk about government waste, and that impacts you and me. That impacts everybody who is. Well, it changes, but I think it's over 70. I think they've moved it from 75 to 77 now when you fully retire. But anyhow, if you're over that and if you're drawing Social Security, these imaginary ones are impacting you, keeping you from getting or endangering you down the road and causing Social Security to go under. This should have at least provide some relief. Now, I would like to see them stop using the Social Security money to cover budgetary needs in the government. And he didn't say anything. He didn't address that. But that's something that Congress will probably have to deal with. At the close of his address, he gave what I would call his triumphant statement of the moment. Ukrainian President Zelensky sent him a letter. He actually got it yesterday, officially thanking the United States. Now, he's thanked the United States before, but this was officially going through which apparently was very important to both Trump and Vance. Officially thanking the United States for its support and declaring it was ready to sit down at a negotiating table. This is very good news. It looks like they're going to be able to sign that rare minerals agreement. It also looks like this is going to help Trump as he's trying to bring to a peace here. I think that Zelensky's friends over in Europe have probably told him what you need. We're here to back you up. We're going to back you up, and you're here, but you're going to need the United States, and so you need to agree to some of this stuff. Anyhow, now I want to say a side note here. The letter apparently said nothing about land for peace, so President Trump still has a ways to go to bring peace to that land. So, have you enjoyed today? Have you enjoyed my take on it? And I actually sat down and actually watched this whole thing. It was a lot of times you get a president up there talking, it can get very boring and very. If it's somebody that you don't agree with, you get upset. But yesterday was actually exciting to hear all the things that he had to say that he had already accomplished so much of in his first 30 days. That's great. But do you enjoy this channel? Do you enjoy this podcast? Or if you do, I am asking you to, right here, down below, to subscribe using the icon there. By subscribing, you not only ensure that you have access to both my podcasts, which is Christian News and Views, which you're watching right now, and the other one is Becoming a Published Author is Fun, which I find to be fun to do. But it's where I give out free information to people who want to become published authors. Now, I encourage you to subscribe, and I will do all in my power to create episodes that will inform, encourage, and inspire you. So you have a great day. I will see you in the next episode.